Hi, I'm Beth, creator of dryitcanit.com. Welcome back to episode 9 of Fridge Day Friday. So today, like many of you, I have extra cucumbers. I am not able to grow cucumbers, I don't have the room, but I did get some from a friend about a week ago, and they're still in really good shape, but it's time that I get those used up. I have a single ear of sweet corn, uncooked. Don't know why we couldn't quite finish the one, but it is what it is, and my husband's bringing home more fresh today, so I might as well get this one used up. And I have about a half a cup of home canned chicken pieces. So as I looked at all this, I thought, what am I going to do with all this, especially since I have so many cucumbers? And I think I'm going to do a couple of different things today. I'm going to take some of the cucumbers and I'm going to make a cucumber salad. And it's really easy. It's sliced cucumbers with some mayonnaise, some onions, some sugar, some red wine vinegar, a little salt and pepper. You stir it all up, you let it sit for 4 or 5 hours, and it's really good. So I'm going to do that. I'm also going to dehydrate a couple of cucumbers, simply because we're not going to use all these cucumbers at one time. And I'm going to soak them in vinegar and then dehydrate them, and then maybe put a seasoning on them. So make some cucumber chips, which I think are healthier certainly than potato chips, but it's a good way to use cucumbers also. And then with some cucumber and corn and some chicken, my first thought was to make a pasta salad for lunch. I thought that would be really good. So I went to grab the pasta, and lo and behold, I have rigatoni, which are bigger noodles, lasagna noodles, and spaghetti noodles, none of which I want to do with this. So after I gave it a little bit more thought, what I've decided I'm going to do is I am going to make a quesadilla out of this. So let me prep the vegetables, and we're going to make, like I said, 3 things today. So stay tuned. So I'm doing what we call cucumbers and cream first, which is my husband's favorite salad, really. So I just took 3 of the larger cucumbers, none of them were really that large, and sliced them using the mandolin, probably about a 1/4 inch thick, making a bowl full. Then take whatever kind of onion you have, red onion, white onion, yellow onion, it doesn't make a difference, and put a few slices of that in. I'm gonna put a few more slices, and let's see what we've got here. And we definitely want a little bit more than that. So this is so easy because it's a great way to use cucumbers, and you really end up with a sweet salad when you're done. So I have my onion here, and I'm just gonna break that up a little bit and then mix all of this in together. So to this, and again, this is really simple, I just take a pinch of salt, put that in, put a pinch of pepper in there, like so. Then I put a couple dashes of red wine vinegar, not too much, but probably equal to, I don't know, maybe a teaspoon or so. But again, this is to taste. Take your favorite brand of mayo and put a bunch of that in. So, I don't know, what do I have there? Maybe a 1/4 cup, 1/3 cup, I don't know. And then some sugar. Sugar will sweeten it, and my sugar is a little bit lumpy there, so I'll just do that to taste. And then I'm just going to take and I'm going to stir that up, and then I'll taste it. And if it looks and tastes like I want it to taste, I'm simply going to put this in the refrigerator covered, leave it for 3 or 4 hours, and that's when the magic happens. What happens basically is the sugar and the salt and the mayonnaise make kind of a salad dressing almost, makes it creamy, a little bit watery, and this looks just really good as it is. Normally I don't use red onion. It's more attractive if you use a white onion or a yellow onion, but I had red onion and it'll taste just as well. So once you have it all mixed up, just take a piece of cucumber out and taste it. Already so good. So I have a sweet dressing. It took me, what, 2-3 minutes to put this together. I'm gonna put this in the refrigerator. Makes a great side dish. Really, really easy, quick way to use cucumbers. So that's the first thing we did with leftovers. Stay tuned, and the next thing I'm going to do is prepare some cucumbers for dehydrating. Now I'm going to make my cucumber and sweet corn quesadilla. I can't say I've ever had cooked cucumber before, but we're gonna give this a try. So I took my 1 ear of corn and I cooked it in the microwave and I let it cool so I got to handle it. Now I never find an easy way to get the corn off the cob without making a mess. Here's what I do. I would love to hear how you guys do it. But I take some kind of a bucket or a bigger container, and I take a bowl and I invert it. I put it upside down so that my ear of corn can sit on top of it. And then I just go ahead and slice it down. And I already have corn falling. This seems to keep it fairly well contained. But that said, with my very first slice, I saw a piece of corn go shooting off onto the floor. So I would love to know how you guys get the corn off of your cobs. I generally don't put corn up until August. I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to do that this year. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to do another Fridge Day Friday also, but we've got some family stuff going on and some vacations coming up. So I'm not sure if I'm going to get another one of these in August yet or not, but I'm sure going to try. So I have my shucked corn, which I'm going to put out on my cutting board here. So one ear made probably about a half a cup. I have a half a cup of corn, and then I took about a half of a smaller to medium-sized cucumber and I diced that. And I'm going to want a little bit of onion in my quesadilla. So I've got something kind of neutral with the cucumber. The corn will be something sweet. This will give me something a little bit more spicy, so to speak. So I'm just going to do not a lot of it here, probably just one slice. And then I'm going to chop that up so that I should say dice it, so I have a little bit of onion. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of these ingredients in a pan, and I'm going to let them heat up a little bit. Simply because I want a warm quesadilla, not a cold one. So I do have to say it's pretty, with the green, the red onion, and the yellow. But I'm going to go ahead and put this in a pan and heat this up, saute it a little bit, and I'll be back to put this together. Almost forgot about using my chicken, which I had put back in the refrigerator. So I'm going to add the chicken to the pile and warm that up too. Now while I've got this going on, I took 2 more cucumbers, 2.5 really, and sliced those. And I have those sitting right now in vinegar. I'm going to let them sit until I make my quesadilla and eat my quesadilla, and then I'm going to be back to show you how I'm going to dehydrate some vinegar cucumber chips. So stay tuned while I put the quesadilla together. My mixture is heated now. So I have my sweet corn, chicken, red onion, and cucumber in here. And I heated the corn I cooked ahead of time. I heated this really just till it get warm. I didn't want the cucumbers to get soft. I want to leave that as sort of a, a texture element. So I have some flour tortillas, some small ones, and I'm just going to take 2 of those out because I have more mixture than I thought I was going to do or going to have. And I'm just going to put that, I think I'm going to have enough for 2 people here. I'm just going to put a bunch of that filling right on top of one of the tortillas here. And then I'm going to take some cheddar cheese, open that up, and sprinkle that on top. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to empty out the rest of the mixture that's here and wipe out my pan, put some oil in that, and let that get good and hot, and then I'll put my tortillas in here. So I have this now with my mixture, my cheese, and I'm just going to take the other tortilla and put that on top. Give it a bit of a press down. So I'm going to empty this out, put this in a bowl, and I'll make another one another time tomorrow for lunch. Put some oil in here, heat this up, and then we'll be back. All right, you want that oil good and hot. If you put just a couple drops of water in there, they'll kind of sizzle a little bit. If you put your tortilla in there before your oil is hot, you're going to have your tortillas soaking up that oil, and you really don't want that. So I'm just going to lift that in carefully, put it in there, press it down. You can hear the sizzle. And I'm just going to let that get brown on each side. I'm going to flip this over after maybe 4 or 5 minutes when it's crunchy brown, and then I will put this together to eat. So after 3 or 4 minutes on both sides, I have a quesadilla that looks pretty good. It's crispy. It's golden brown on both sides, and that cheese that I ended up putting inside of it really ends up being a binder, so to speak, holding everything together. Now I want to grab a knife, getting a pile of dishes here, and cut this. You can hear the crispiness of it, but I find quesadillas are always easier to eat if they're in quarters. And because I can, and because I have some, get this cut all the way through here, I'm going to add a dollop of sour cream, like so. and a dollop of salsa because I have some, so why not, right? And spread that out. And I have lunch, which is sweet corn and cucumbers and cheese and onion. And let's see how it tastes. Okay, it's good. The tortilla is crispy. The cucumber kept its texture. Can't really taste the cucumber a lot, so it's not overwhelming. The sweet corn adds a really nice sweet element, and then of course, who doesn't love cheddar cheese? So this was a great way to take the ingredients I had and make a lunch. I thought I would have a light lunch for one, and there's definitely enough to make lunch for two on this. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my lunch, and then I'm going to be back to show you how I do the vinegar dehydrated cucumber chips. So stay tuned for that. We're really doing cucumbers 3 ways today. Last but not least today, I'm making some seasoned vinegar chips out of the leftover cucumbers. So when I was making the quesadilla, I basically took my cucumbers, I had them sliced, and I put them in vinegar, and they sat for probably about 35 minutes or so. While I made the quesadilla, I ate it, put in a load of laundry, maybe a little bit longer than 35 minutes. Now, they absorbed a lot of the vinegar, and I want to rinse those afterwards because that vinegar would be much more intense than I want it to. So what I did then is I filled this with cold water twice. I just sort of swished the cucumbers around, drained it, did that a second time. And now what I'm doing is just dumping the cucumbers on a clean towel and just towel drying it. I mean, I'm not going to worry about wiping off every single cucumber. I'm not worried about that. But I just want to get the bulk of the moisture. If you can see the towel, maybe you can, maybe you can't. You know, it has plenty of moisture there that it picked up. So I have my cucumbers, and then I'm just taking some Lowry seasoning salt and lightly putting that all over the chips. Not real heavy, but just enough to give it some seasoning. A lot of people will do this with just salt and pepper. I like the Lowry seasoning salt, gives it a little bit more flavor. And then I just sort of give it a good shake, like so. I'm not worried about getting both sides. This will thin out. And again, keep in mind when you're dehydrating, things change up a little bit. So then I'm just going to take my dehydrator trays, and I'm going to lay the cucumbers on them individually. I can feel the salt. I can't even necessarily see it anymore, but it's definitely there. I'm going to lay these all out. I'm going to put them in the dehydrator at 125 degrees until they're dry and until they're crispy. That's going to take a fair amount of time because I slice these thick, maybe a 1/4 inch or so, but I like them that way a little bit better when I'm dehydrating them. They're going to be done when they're done, when they're going to be crispy and when they're going to be crunchy. How you test these is you put them in there for 5 or 6 hours, and then I like to turn them over after that time. Otherwise, sometimes they'll stick a little bit to the tray. But then once they've been in there, I would say about 8 hours if you have them thick like I do, probably 3 hours or so if you have them real thin. Just turn them over, but then after you've had them in there for, in my case here, 8 to 10 hours, I'm going to take these out and I'm going to let them sit to get to room temperature. That's the only way you really can check dehydrated food to make sure that it's done. When you take it directly out of the dehydrator, it's going to be soft most of the time. So I took the cucumbers, I laid them out, I have space between them. I'll take the rest of them and do the same thing. I'm going to put them in the dehydrator. They're done when they're done. I'll test them for crispiness. Once they're done, I will put them in a jar for 4 to 7 days, shake the jar once a day, check for moisture, make sure that they are completely dry. And then I can put them in long-term storage. More than likely in my house, they'll just get eaten. But you know what? It's a lot healthier than potato chips, and it's a great way to use extra cucumbers. So, Fridge Day Friday today turned out to be a little bit more than even I expected it to be. That quesadilla was so good that I definitely am going to make that for my family on a regular basis. The sour cream and the salsa on top just really kind of was the icing on the cake, so to speak. So I hope you found today's video helpful. I hope it gave you some good ideas. I would really appreciate if you could subscribe to my channel, If you give me a thumbs up if you like the video, that helps me know what you're looking for and what you like. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy your weekend and happy dehydrating.